I'm pressing the second button, and with both buttons pressed, of course now it tells me the internet connection is unstable. You jerks. All right, anyway, that's rocking and rolling, which means we need to go to the intro.
All right, just remember what I've taught you.
What the fuck is that?
Hey, yo. Let's go while we're young.
Hey, what are you doing here? It's good to see you. How have you been? You all right? Everybody good? We ready to do this? You have picked a fine, fine night to be here. If this is the first time you're hearing it, oh man, you've picked a fine night for it to be first. And if you're a regular, if you're a usual, thanks for being here. It's good to see you again. Everybody get comfortable. We're going to go do some stuff tonight. It's going to be really good. Let's do that sweet, sweet intro. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming to chat. It's nice to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, guys, gals, non-binary pals, friends, writers, makers, doers, dreamers, accountants, every member of Team Butt, Team Armpit, and Team Curve, anyone who appreciates good cold fried chicken at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, snack enthusiasts, thick enthusiasts, people who remember what a water slide really is, anybody who's ever had to enjoy the slightly stale gum you were surprised you found, anybody who's ever found money in their pockets, cinematographers, filmmakers, dancers, enthusiasts, seamstresses, potato makers, farmers, artists, podcasters, and most importantly, the comrades. How are you? Hi, it's good to be here. I am John Adamus, the writer next door. This is the Writer's Chat for January the 19th. And it is my pleasure to be here. It is my pleasure to be right here in your ears, doing my absolute best to have a really good time answering questions from all across social media to help you, to empower you, to educate you, to at least get you to think about what it means to be creative and how we can get published and how we can tell our stories and how we can do whatever it is we want to do. I love this. This makes me happy. It really does. It absolutely does. Best day of my every week. So let's say hi to everybody. Twitch, say hi to Zoom. Zoom, say hi to Twitch. And everybody, say hi to YouTube in the future. It's nice to be here. We have, in theory, we have some really good stuff lined up for tonight. There are some fantastic questions, just absolutely brilliant questions. And I hope it's going to lead to a lot of good thoughts, comments, light bulb moments for you. I'm certainly going to do my best to have a good time talking to you. And of course, as always, if you're listening to this on the podcast or checking it out on in the future on YouTube, and you have comments or issues, by all means, leave them in whatever comment leaving fashion you can. But if you're here tonight, right now, if you're here, feel free anytime. Leave your questions in Twitch chat. Leave your questions in the Zoom chat. And I will absolutely do my best to get you the answers you need to help you do whatever it is you're going to do. Now, did I eat today? What a great way to start. Yes, I did. I had 3 meals today, thank you very much. I had some delightful oatmeal for breakfast. I did have a bison burger for lunch. It was pretty banging. And I just had portobello mushroom sandwich for dinner with a little extra arugula. It was fucking killer. Yeah, it was good. I ate a lot. I was really hungry today. It was kind of a stressful day for me. And food, maybe not emotional eating, but certainly I'm eating so that I can stop crying certainly happened. It was a fine day overall, though. Sometimes therapy's just like that. So now here I am in this microphone in your ears. And I want to start tonight actually with, instead of plugging an artist, which again, I didn't make a graphic for. I'm very sorry. I do want to tell you that it might be in your interest. It really might be in your interest. If you're looking to try and make a difference in your local area, if you're ever wondering, like, what's a thing I can do that's pretty easy that would super make a difference in somebody else's life that would not terribly put me out, go support your local food bank. Go support your local domestic violence shelter. Go support your local, family clinic. I can guarantee you they're going to need some supplies. Whether it's unexpired, fresh, in-date canned goods, whether it's toiletries, whether it's socks and underwear and shirts, whether it's jackets. There are loads of things you can do in your local area, wherever you might be, where you can substantially improve the quality of somebody, let alone a family's entire life, by helping them get food, helping them find clothing, helping them be safe. It doesn't take very long. It doesn't have to break the bank for you. And it's absolutely something that will radically change somebody's life. Please consider supporting your local shelters of whatever flavor you may have in your area. Consider that your artist spotlight plug. Now, that said, we are going to start tonight with, questions from WhatsApp. It's interesting because when I get questions from WhatsApp, they're never like short questions. They're never like, hey, John, how do I do one thing? Oh, no. They write me novels. It's great. I love it. Ready for this? Here we go. 2 questions from WhatsApp. First question. What does it take when I'm considering whether or not I should write a flashback? Should I use it at all, or should I not use it? Should it be very in-depth? Should it set up a bigger flashback? Or should it be short and just kind of cover the important stuff that I need to at the moment? That's question number 1, which we're going to summarize as, what the hell do I do with a flashback? Here's what you do with a flashback. A flashback, no matter the genre, no matter the tense we're writing in, that flashback is setting up some link in the chain of chronology that we need to establish so that the overall link, this event plus this event plus this event plus this event, however many times, makes sense. The placement of that flashback link, whether we're flashing back after 5 chapters or we're flashing back after 10 pages or whether we're flashing back after it disconnected. Son of a bitch. You're going to listen to me curse and swear for a second while it disconnects. Son of a bitch. Okay, we're back. Pain in my ass this thing is sometimes. Okay. Flashback. Function of a flashback. It's very rude. Function of a flashback, plain and simple, straightforward. You're going to set up a link in the chain. Where that particular flashback happens in the story is either going to, the earlier a flashback happens, the less critical it is assumed to be directly to plot. It will most frequently sort of it'll be there, it'll help, it'll do a thing, but it's not like super dire critical, oh my God, put a gold star by it. The later you flash back, the more important you're saying the knowledge contained in that flashback is and how critical the reader must put focus to it. Hey, pay attention. I'm flashing back at this moment for a particular reason. Big, giant, highlighter, gold star, note this. Pay attention, reader kind of stuff. Should you use it? If it's the best tool for the job, sure. But you're under no obligation to always and only use it. It is, just like everything else, a tool in the toolbox. Flashbacks are great when we want to interrupt the forward flow of chronology and talk about something from before to give us more advantage, to give us more tempo, to give us some initiative moving forward. So I'm talking about right now. And then all of a sudden, if I suddenly go, hey, this one time, this thing happened to me in the past, My talking about the past means that in the future, I can say more things because you've been informed about something else. It's designed to deliver information and affect the reader's feelings. If you're going to use a flashback to set up another flashback, try and keep it straight. If you're taking a flashback and slicing it up into pieces, essentially turning flashbacks into interstitials, where we have basically two threads of story, one moving forward, that's our regular story thread, but every once in a while we jump out to a series of flashbacks. So long as the flashbacks are delivered, that's your technical term, delivered forward sequentially, meaning like we're in today's Wednesday, so our forward flow of story is Wednesday, but if we were to flashback to Sunday, we'd want to go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for our flashbacks, because our flashbacks are moving in some direction. We don't necessarily need that flashback to move in the same direction as our story, but we do need them moving in a consistent direction. We would not want to have Wednesday be our story flow, but our flashbacks go from Tuesday to Saturday to last week to the Monday afternoon. We don't want to hopscotch all over the place because the reader will struggle to create continuity and everything will feel disjointed. We don't want the reader left disjointed. That's how you want to set up a flashback. As to how big it is, it's as big as the story needs it to do. Yes, The Witcher is a great example of using a flashback to wield and manipulate overall chronology in a story. It was super effective. The Witcher did it really well. It's kind of their gimmick, which is not to say it's bad, but it's one of their easy tools that we are now like known for. Oh, Witcher, they're going to play with chronology. It engages the reader in a different way. It's pretty good. Could it have been better? Sure, absolutely it could have been better. We could have stitched together and made it clear that, this episode, although it is this far deep in the order, comes before that episode relative to the structure. Small notes, not really critical in the big scheme of things, but it is possible to use flashbacks in big and small sizes to adjust the reader's understanding of overall story. That was question 1. Question 2. And I apologize because I should have read this question before I hit the record button. If your book is mainly in one or two points of view, what should you consider before including select sections from a third tertiary point of view? Ooh, well, again, if the point of view you are jumping to is interstitial, like you're just using it to interrupt the flow of everything else, you've got to understand that if we have point of view A and point of view B, if you jump to point of view C, and then C and D and E and F and however many other tertiary people you have, the more you jump from point of view to point of view, even if they're spaced out evenly, even if it's, crafted and structured in some deliberate way, the more points of view you jump, the harder the reader is going to try and make sense of it, because a reader naturally wants to figure out the story in their head. They want to have it make sense. When the story stops making sense, you know what they do? They put the book down, which is what you want to avoid. We don't want them putting the book down. Unless, it's the end of the day and it's time to go to bed. But you know what I mean? You don't want to give them a reason to stop reading because you've confused them. So be really careful with adding in these extra points of view if they don't materially add to a point or a thing you're developing, like a theme, inside the story. To have extra POV just because you want to have extra POV, it is not an automatically bad instinct. However, you got to question what the value of that point of view is. Why are we following this person? Even if we're only following this person for 3 pages, why? What are we supposed to get from this? What are you aiming us towards? How should we feel? If we were to take this out, let's just suppose for a minute we deleted it, would our story be negatively impacted? Does it really need to be here? Think about this carefully before you engage with it, because you already have an A thread and you already have a B thread, and they can move in very different, even perpendicular directions, and the reader will still follow along. But the minute we start throwing in C's and D's and E's and F's, well, that's where you're challenging the reader, because the expectation is going to be, well, you brought up C, so I guess C is going to start showing up more than once. And if they don't, they're going to wonder what the hell happened to C's storyline. Be really careful with bringing in those tertiary and even the quaternary, and that is possible, quaternary points of view just to bring in an interstitial. Figure out what you're trying to get across and see if you can get A or B to do it first. If you can't, and somehow for some reason you still need the tertiary point of view, do it very, 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 very sparingly. Good luck. Those were the questions from WhatsApp. All right. Let's go do the questions. Boom. Oh, hey, look, I'm in the corner of the screen, you guys. I'm on camera. Hi. Suck it guy who gave me shit about it. We're working on it. Okay. Here we go. Question 1. John, what is one phrase I can almost always cut from my manual? Look at me. Look right here. I'm talking right to you. Look, this is important. Here's one phrase you can always cut from your manuscript. Ready? Just another fill in the blank. Take out the justs. Usually take out another's. But any kind of supplemental prepositional, supplemental conditional phrase that you're using to daisy chain sentences together to create an overly casual relationship between narrating character and reader is something you can almost always cut. Here's why. Because the cumulative effect of how the narrating character or the narrative structure affects the reader is the thing doing that job. You don't always need to have every sentence or the vast majority of sentences go out of their way to explicitly state that, hey, buddy, pal, we're, reader, you and me, we're just in this together, old chum. You don't need to do that. You don't need to try so hard if you're going for a casual thing. This is a snowball rolling downhill. So don't force it. You can almost always cut things like thus. Please cut the thuses. Please, please, I pray you. Cut thus. You don't need thus. We're not writing legal arguments. We're not making academic papers. We're not trying to get an A on a test. We're not trying to get a woman named Margaret to give you her phone number after film studies class. We don't need to use the word thus. Let it go. You don't need thus. You barely. What if the character is in a legal profession? Well, if it's dialogue, yes, that would be okay. But by and large, in your exposition, not so much. Because let's say it's first person and you're writing the lawyer, just make up a legal profession. If you're writing in first person, the natural use of I and varied sentence structure will give you that same sort of informal, hey, pal, we're just talking, you and me. So you won't need to thus your reader because you've already created this relationship. Thus is just going to make them sound like a dick. And there are so many other better ways to make them sound like a dick. But by and large, you can cut thus, just like you can cut just. But they are a dick. Yeah, it's fine that they're a dick. You don't need to overdo the sentences that demonstrate dictum. Does that make sense? You don't always need to go, that's a sentence, that's a sentence, that's a sentence, and that's a sentence. That all show they're a dick. Do you think your reader's stupid? Do you think your reader didn't get that from the first 2 times you said it? Trust your ability to portray your character. And then trust the reader's ability to pick up on what you're putting down. You don't have to go that far. No, I just think the character is a dick. Well, that's a you thing. Try not to project so hard, let the reader come to their own conclusion, I guess. But by and large, you don't have to belabor the dick point. You know what I'm saying? It's weird on camera because now you can just watch how many times I drink. The cats, by the way, are off camera over there because it was new cat toy day. And I'm pretty sure somebody gave them dog toys. But everybody's happy, so we're cool. They crinkle, they're soft. You might hear one of them jingling because I'm pretty sure there's jingle bells in this thing. But whatever, they're over there. I moved them off the desk because I reorganized the office. I'm going back to the questions now. Yeah? Cool. I'm glad. All right. We're going to question 2. Oh, God, it's technical. How do I count cadence in dialogue? All right. Thankfully, the camera's here, so when I move my fingers, you can see this, because normally when I have to do this, I'm just doing audio, and it's particularly difficult for me to get this across. When you count, watch my hands, when you count cadence, you are counting a combination of syllables per word. We all know what syllables are, right? And I'm trying not to make that sound patronizing, but it's the mouth sounds you make when you say words. We're counting syllables, but we're also counting parts of speech. And this is where people like get all up in their heads because they freak out because like school and grammar was like decades ago. It's cool. I got you. You're going to count the following things. You want to count syllables per sentence. This is especially, we're only talking dialogue. You're not going to do this with sentences where characters aren't speaking aloud. Don't do this for exposition. There are completely different tools to use. Just do this for people talking. Okay? That's like super critical. This is only for dialogue. And even then, it's probably for dialogue where one character is talking to another back and forth. If they're just talking to themselves, you can still do this, but it's less important. Because cadence is the idea that how we speak creates rhythm. And the rhythm we have and the rhythm we establish when we combine that with the words we choose helps create how a character should sound. How I say a thing isn't only the words, it's how it comes out of my mouth. Think about a rapper. Pick a rapper, I don't care. You distinguish your rapper by how they rhyme and by what they rhyme, lyrics and delivery. The same is true for dialogue with characters. What words do they use? How does it come out of their face hole? This is why the hashtag writing community loves to tell you that you got to have characters that use different vocabulary if they're different characters. Because the hashtag writing community is great at giving you like half the fucking answer to the question and then leaving you out in the breeze for the other. It's not enough just to make sure that your dick character sounds like a dick and they use big ass words. That's fine. And it's great when you're starting out and you're getting sort of a handle on how to write. But you've got to take it to that next level where you're going to add extra stuff to it, which means counting cadence. Human beings, and I'm assuming that you're a human being, and I'm assuming that you're writing for human beings. Human beings all sound different, not just because of the vocabulary, but inflection and tone. Now, sometimes, especially in the internet age, we're taught that inflection and tone are affected by punctuation. Exclamation points, asterisks, question marks, interrobangs, all caps, stuff like that, right? And that's partially true, but it's not enough because you need to have more tools than just, I'm going to make this italics or I'm going to make it not italics. The point I'm trying to make is that there are many ways of creating inflection without you either saying, this is how the character said this sentence, or using visual typography to indicate how a word should be leaned on. And part of that is cadence. So step 1 in cadence, we're going to count syllables. Every time your jaw, if read the dialogue out loud. Every time your jaw drops, that's a syllable. That's the easiest shorthand. Then you're going to count the number of syllables. Okay? That's going to give you a number. I'm trying to do this without the jargon, so don't worry about what the name of that number is called. Just count the number of syllables. Put that number on the side. Make a note. Periodically do this per each character. You do not have to do this for every character every time. I'm gonna move the microphone closer. I'm gonna say that again. You do not have to do this every time. Can you? Totally. Is it worth it? No. But you can do it if you want. But count syllables periodically. More or less, you're going to try and keep the numbers relatively the same. I don't mean like, well, they said 9 syllables here, so they need 9 syllables there. Because sometimes you just say like 2 sentences or 1 sentence or a fucking paragraph. But if you've got like an even number or an odd number or a prime number, it might be useful to consider doing that again. Not repeating the same words, but think about the sounds. Think about how when someone speaks, the number of words and how big those words are and how many sounds they make relates to how we feel about what it is they're saying and who they are. We can conclude from somebody who speaks very quickly and all of a sudden strings all their words together that maybe they're anxious, maybe they're nervous, maybe they're hurried, maybe there's something else going on. When we listen to someone slow down, we have a different response. Step 1, we're going to count syllables. Then we're going to try to do what's called interpreting spaces. And if you're somebody who I've edited where I've yanked out some commas, this is the part where I want you to listen. Interpreting space means trusting your own idea in your head as to how a sentence is said. And trusting that you've given enough momentary, on the page, context clues that the reader doesn't need you to use 7 commas to get the idea across that you want them to pause between some words. You get it? You see what I did there? You don't have to ... You get it. You can just have the sentence, you get it, and interpret the space without putting it explicitly on the page. Trust how it sounds in your head. Trust the reader who's read more books than just yours in their lifetime, who's watched more TV, who's done a ton of stuff. I'm not trying to get them to compete with you, but understand that you are not their first exposure to the written language. So trust them to have a sense of like how they think it should sound, and trust that your idea of how it sounds and their idea of how it sounds more or less is the same. It does not need to be perfect. You got me? Here, look at me. Look, right here. It does not need to be perfect. Stop trying to make them totally get it. It's annoying. Stop it. Okay, the camera thing is totally growing on me now. I'm cool with it. Because now I can talk to you. I'm cool. So, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to more or less hit the same space. And we do that by interpreting silence and interpreting space between words. We do that by creating context clues outside of the dialogue. And we do it inside the dialogue by counting the syllables, counting the spaces, and saying to ourselves as we're writing whatever it is we're writing, hey, in this moment, this character feels a certain way. How do I convey that feeling? Now, if that means you have to step outside dialogue to use like a dialogue tag or an adverb, go ahead. It's not the end of the world if you do that. But don't do it every time. Again, these are tools in the toolbox. So sometimes adverbs are great. Rock on. Do what you got to do. But don't think that, oh shit, it's another dialogue tag. I need another adverb. Over and over and over and over. No. Do not beat the dead horse. Just count cadence as a combination of syllables and silence. Syllables and silence. And understand that every character, when you do some kind of count for them, is going to have a different number. That number is what helps, but doesn't do it entirely, but it helps set up the idea that this character has a particular voice. And it comes across a particular way. So that your characters don't all have the same number score. They don't all have 11s. I'm making up a number. They don't all have 11s, so they don't all sound the same. That's one of the ways we help distinguish them, by creating cadence. What a fantastically technical question. I'm pumped. And I'm digging this camera thing. All right. Question 3. Oh, shit. Have a good night. Thanks for coming. All right. Question 3. This might actually be the first rant on camera I do. I'm pretty pumped for that. Okay. What's wrong with the theory that it's what publishing wants right now? You'll never guess where I read this. You'll never in a million years guess where I read it's what publishing wants right now. I'll give you a hint. It's the hashtag writing community. This is a thing. This is some dumb shit thing. Because what's wrong with the theory, it's what publishing wants right now? It makes publishing sound like it's a person who's placed an order at a delicatessen. It sounds like somebody's placed an order at a restaurant. It sounds like there is a human being sitting in some office who is publishing. And they're making demands. That's not what this is. You get that, right? Like, that's clear, yeah? Publishing wants two things: material that it can sell and money. Material it can sell and money. But when we come up with the phrase, it's what publishing wants right now, we're not talking about the fact that we just need more material or somebody somewhere in some fucking suit wants some money. We're talking about, oh, you've been rejected. I'm so sorry. It's just not what publishing wants right now. No, that's not what that means. Why they got rejected has nothing to do with the autonomy of publishing. They got rejected because maybe their query letter wasn't any good. Maybe their manuscript needs to be re-edited. Maybe they just need to pitch it differently. Maybe they need to change what they're doing. Or maybe they don't need to change anything and they just need to talk to a different person. Publishing is not a monolith that dictates with some kind of universal terms as to what it does and doesn't want. The veins of effort and interest that weave through publishing trends, they didn't all come from one person. There's a trend over here and a trend over there and a trend this way and a trend over there and this and that and the other. They're all over the place. Sometimes they conflict. Sometimes they intersect. Sometimes they move along together. They do all different kinds of stuff, but they're just temporary. But it's not like there's one single publishing place where everything spews forth. No matter what you want to say about different mega corporations who physically produce the material, publishing, as some kind of entity that we want to recognize it as, just needs material to sell and needs the money from those sales. So when you say it's what publishing wants right now, you are taking the possible failure, the possible, hey, you need to learn this lesson, the possible, hey, you need to change your behavior away from the artist, away from the creator, because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And instead you are positioning it on this like invisible boogeyman that all of a sudden can absolutely positively just take all the blame. You're fine. It's on them. No, fuck that. That's stupid. Sometimes writers write bad shit. Sometimes you write a bad query letter. Sometimes your shit needs some editing. Sometimes your pitch sucks. Sometimes you're just talking to the wrong person about a thing. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you need to quit. Did you just hashtag not all publishers? And that's awesome. But it doesn't mean you should quit. If you make a mistake, if you goof, you try again. You know, oh, you struck out. You didn't hit the home run in the baseball game. You tripped and fell over your own feet. You made a mistake. Guess what? You can pick yourself up and keep moving forward. That's the whole point. You fucked up. You made a mistake. And that's okay. It's good that you learn from your mistakes, and that includes recognizing when your shit didn't work so that you don't keep banging your head 1,000,000 times against the wall thinking that you're fine and everybody else is fucked. It's very likely. In fact, it's mathematically more likely that you made some mistakes and they made some mistakes and the two sides made mistakes together. All publishing wants is shit it can sell and the money it makes from those sales. The argument that, well, traditional publishing wants certain things. No, they fucking don't. They want to sell things and make money. That's all they want. They're a capitalist business. They don't give a shit about art. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about your voice or your theme or your ideas. They just want money for your efforts. And they're going to wrap it up in a package of legitimacy so that you pretend to care more too. All they want is for you to feed the beast. That's all you got to do. So you write whatever it is the hell you want to write. You want to make another I saw that shiny vampires? Go ahead. You want to make a set of sentient, kitchen utensils that run around and have romance together? Awesome, let's do it. You want to write a big-ass giant fantasy novel with, like, werewolves and shit? Sure, make yourself happy. Just understand that sometimes the way you write some things are going to open some doors and make something possible, but close others. The 2 million word manuscript that you have slaved over about your, great pirate saga, you can publish that yourself. But because it's 2 million words, and most pirate stories are generally not 2 million words, and nobody really has written a pirate thing so clearly and so well that they're willing to bend and change convention. Because remember, convention can be manipulated and changed. So some doors are going to be more available to you. Some avenues for publishing are going to be more available to you. You might have to change how it is you want your goal. You can still reach the goal. I want to be a published author. But the avenue you take to get there might not be the avenue you thought about. And that's not bad, and that's not your fault. It's just some of the things you do don't match up with the feasibility or the ease of other avenues. If I want to learn how to dunk a basketball, I'm probably going to have to do something about tight hamstrings. I have tight hamstrings. So if I want to avoid injury, I got to work on my hamstrings first. Eventually, I'll get there. Now, if I choose to not do that, if I choose to just try and dunk the ball as is, I will probably hurt myself, and I'll have to live with the consequences and learn from my mistakes. But basketball doesn't want me to dunk. That's not how that works. There's different strategies and different methods for accomplishing the goal. Don't get locked in and say, the only good goal I have, the only thing I can do is only this one way. Because that's the sort of thing where you get to blame publishing. That's the kind of thing where you get to be like, oh, it's somebody else's fault. They're just not ready for my genius. No. You made art. You're trying to sell art that they don't want to buy. Go sell it somewhere else. It doesn't make the art invalid. You made art. It's art. Done. Yahtzee. Good job. Thumbs up. But they don't want to buy that art. You got to find some other avenue for that art. What's wrong with the theory? It strips agency. It's a juvenile, short-sighted view of things. You got to learn from what you did wrong and do better. And that can be uncomfortable and that can be embarrassing. But if you're interested in doing better, you got to be willing to be embarrassed and not know everything all the time. It's a hard lesson. It's uncomfortable. It can be frustrating. But it also shouldn't dissuade you from your goal. Because nobody's taking your goal away from you. We're just changing the route you take to get there, which is fine. Many roads have detours. Many roads have alternate paths. Don't blame invisible publishing. Just make your art and do your best you can with it. Great question. Are there any questions from chat? I haven't even looked to see who's here. What should I keep in mind when I'm opening my story with an action scene? Oh shit, I've been waiting for this question. All right, fun fact, this was originally a question that got cut. So thank you for asking a version of the question. Here's what you need to know. You're going to run into the gap. The gap it's called a fall off. It's the idea that an action scene of whatever kind, whether we're, driving in a car race, whether we're avoiding a monster, whether it's an opening gambit, whether we're doing whatever, the action scene is going to have some level of its own momentum because we're engaging the audience with it. But at some point, that scene's going to end for whatever reason. Like, we caught the monster, we won the race, we did a thing. And usually, like in TV shows or movies, title sequences are the thing that fills the gap. Because we did a thing, then we go to titles and credits and theme song and all that stuff. So then, when we pick back up after the action scene, our next scene has reset our pacing. That's the biggest thing to know when you open your story with an action scene. Whatever comes next invariably is going to be at a lower critical value, a lower momentum, a lower inertia. Because it's going to have to be. Because you can't always have your foot on the gas. You got to, take your foot off the pedal, coast a little bit. That's item number 1. Item number 2, when you're starting with an action scene, make sure that something actually happens in the action scene, especially in an opening, that you're not just doing it to sort of show off what I have referred to in other places as the Michael Bay effect. Hey, look at all the stuff I can blow up and describe. It's got to have a function. It's an opening to your story. So, in addition to being action, when it's an action scene, the reader's going to immediately have the impression of, oh, if this is the way the first scene is, most of the scenes are going to be like this. They're going to have this level of intensity, this level of emotion, this level of activity. And if your story does, great. That's fine. If your story doesn't, which is also great and also fine, thank you so much for resubscribing. It's delightful to have you here. Thank you so super much. Oh, that's wonderful. It makes the little noise. Sweet. In my ears, too. That's great. So, if you keep your foot on the gas, that's fine. If you take your foot off, that's fine. But the reader's expectation is going to be set. So you have to manage that. Mitigate, deal with. Let's go with deal with. Deal with that expectation. So don't just have action for the sake of having action. Give it a purpose. Is it going to speak to character arc? Is it going to speak to character starting state? Is it going to speak to theme? Is it just an action scene because you want to tell the reader over the first couple pages, hey, reader, this is how I write stuff. This is how I'm going to get you, the reader, used to my writing style. Don't just have an action for an action's sake. Because if you're doing it solely and expressly because you know that you've got to grab the reader and have them pay attention, that's true. You do. But at the same time, you don't have to be so obvious about it. You don't have to go out of your way to really try. I mean, put some effort in, but you don't have to hey, I'm doing an action scene. I'm going to grab your attention now. You can be a little bit more subtle with it. Those are the big things. Also, last note for this, because I see there's more questions in chat. Last note, be careful with how long it goes. Because remember, it's just an opening scene. Even if it's related to some degree of plot, it doesn't necessarily have to go on so long. Be willing to let it come to a natural end and move the story forward. Don't feel like it has to be a big, tremendous thing. A little action scene can be very effective. Don't overstay the welcome. Great question. There was another one. What's the best way to make the scenes between the big action beats engaging? I feel like mine just go from A to B. Well, part of that's going to be contextual and dependent on what it is you're doing, because maybe some scenes, you're very welcome, some scenes are just going from A to B because we have to change locations, because we got to move the story forward. So there are going to be moments post-action beat where the reader gets a chance to catch their breath. The reader gets a chance to kind of package up all the stuff they just read and then move forward. They need that Because otherwise they're going to keep so many plates spinning in their head. Oh, what about this? What about that character? What about this action? What about this arc? What about this? What about that? That they're going to get overwhelmed. And the book is going to feel denser, slower, and often more complicated than you mean it to be. So sometimes you're going to have scenes where you're just kind of hanging back. If you're trying to specifically improve them and make them engaging, that was the word you used, engaging, the best thing you can do to create better engagement, and we talk about this, I think, in the next question too, but one of the best ways you can generate engagement is to connect it with some kind of emotion. So I'm going to tell you these things are happening, even if we're just going from A to B, even if we're just hanging out here, even if we're just kind of like licking our wounds after the fight. It's a slower, low-key scene, but I'm telling you this, I'm describing it this way for a reason. I want you to connect with something. I want you to understand something, reader. I want you to feel something. Don't confuse engaging with, holy shit, I am enraptured by this story and it is everything to me. It's not, I mean, that is a kind of engagement, but engagement doesn't mean that I am literally on the edge of my seat and it's the first sign of trouble, the first time the breeze shifts, I'm going to like throw the book across the room and never again read a thing you say. One, that's really melodramatic. And two, they're not going to do that. That's not how this works. Consider that they're going to be engaged since they read this far. And that sometimes you can use scenes that aren't action beats to be engaging. Learning about a character, learning about how they feel, seeing a relationship play out, seeing a character get rewarded, seeing a character fail, learning and deepening a mystery, developing the story is differently engaging than an action beat, but it's still engaging. Now, that's the sort of broad picture stroke of this. If we're just talking about how do I physically write it, you're going to get my favorite technical answer. Vary your sentence length, vary your paragraph size. And sometimes you are just going to go from A to B. I hope that answers your question. A lot of this is also your feeling on a thing or a beta reader's feeling on a thing. And sometimes they can't all be, like super amazing. Oh my God, A to B in the most dramatic, like cinematic way possible. Sometimes we're just in the car driving. And that's got to be okay. But that's a great question. All right. Boom. Boom. Oh my God, it is that question. How do I make my story's world feel more real and lived in? Okay, we're back on camera. Hi. This is important. Look, right here. You and me. We're in this together, buddy. Here's what we're doing. This question comes up. Oh, dude, it's totally okay to go from A to B. Absolutely. Sometimes it just has to happen because otherwise if you don't, the story doesn't move forward. Sometimes it's just going to be, yeah, we get in the car and we go. Yeah, we have this conversation. Yeah, we sit down. It's okay to not always be moving. Here we are, though, with this question. How do I make the story's world feel more real and lived in? Okay. This is important. And I need you to hear me very, very carefully. A lot of people ask this question, and their solution to it is wrong. Because a lot of people take this idea of a real, where's my camera? Real lived-in world, and take that to mean it has to have a lot of detail. Like a lore and a world chart and a chronology and a timeline and like centuries of backstory, and I've created these things so I can have a prequel novel series, and I've mapped it out in 2-year increments for 4,000 years, and I've got this going on and that going on, and here's a fucking poem about bushes and shit. Like, they come up with all this extra data, all this extra information to make the world feel real because there's so many moving parts, because there's so much stuff to talk about. And that never, ever, ever works. Because what makes a world, and I don't care what world it is, I don't care if we're writing fantasy or romance or detective stories or legal thrillers or children's goddamn books. Doesn't matter what we're writing. What makes it feel real is the reader's ability to feel like they are next to the characters while whatever the hell's going on. So if you've got your starship captain speaking to the Space Council for permission to do a whatever, the reader wants to feel like they're in that room. If the rookie lawyer has to go before the first jury of his life and he's got to try and do this on his first day, the reader wants to feel like they're in the room. You've got your super spy driving super fast in a super car. The reader wants to feel like they're in the passenger seat. You're having two tense conversations between antagonist and protagonist before they square off later on in the book. The reader wants to feel like they're right there, looking, playing, head tennis, back and forth, following everything. What makes it feel real is the reader's sense of impression that they're a part of the moment, the current moment. Because if you want to feel like what's going on here in this chat is important and real, you don't give a hot rat fuck about what I did 2 weeks ago. Because it's sort of relevant, because it's related to like, hey, I got to start redecorating the office to set up for the camera and do all this stuff. But at the same time, if you want this to feel real, you've got to have an ability to be present here and have feelings about now. That's what makes your story's world feel real and lived in. Not just, 1,000 years ago, there was this ancient spirit who was contained using magic. That's important. That's very critical information. That's a big deal. That's good to know. But at the same time, me, the reader, I can't easily conceive of what happened 1,000 years ago. I got enough of a hard time remembering what month it was. November, 2 months ago, feels a lifetime ago. That's just how this is. You want to make your world, I don't care what your world is, feel real and lived in. Make sure the reader feels present as frequently as possible on a per sentence, per scene, per moment basis. And I'm going to repeat this sentence so that you hear me. Every sentence is a camera. Every sentence is a camera. Because the reader needs to know what to picture in their head. The reader needs to know what it is. I got to figure out how to get my face and this mic on the same. We'll work on it. It's a work in progress, everybody. But the reader needs to know what to picture, what to see. They're playing this movie in their head, right? Like, what are you giving them? They're trying to follow this movie in your brain, and you're telling them about what happened a century ago? How does that help them paint this scene where your guy is talking to these other characters? How does that help? Put them in the present moment with the character. Put them in the present moment. How should it feel? Now, if you're wondering, well, how do I do that? Here's how you do that. You have to pretend to be the reader. And you have to some degree, pretend to be the character. Okay, you're this person. You're going through this event. Here's what's going on in the story. How do you feel? Think about it. Take a guess if you're not really able to put your finger on it. Make an attempt. How do you think you'd feel? Okay, I'm a rookie lawyer. I've got to make this opening argument. I've never done it before. How would you feel? You don't need to go consult a lawyer and do copious amounts of obnoxious research. It's not a school project. Just take a guess. Speak to the emotion. How would you feel? Write that down. Take that feeling you have. I think a rookie lawyer who's never done this before in the first case of their life would be absolutely pants-shittingly terrified. How can I convey that to somebody else? How can I express that to a person who I imagine is sitting right next to the character while they're going through whatever it is they're doing? What would that person see? That person, by the way, is the reader. I'm a rookie lawyer. I've got to stand up in front of this room and talk. I've got to be on camera, and I historically have terrible times dealing with cameras. I've got to pretend like you're sitting in what is now the cat chair. You're sitting in this chair. Here's how I feel. How can I convey how I feel, and what do you see? If you can do that, and it's not easy, and no one is expecting you to get it right the first time, and it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just have to do your best. That's why we write multiple drafts. That's why it takes time. Okay? No one expects this to be perfect. And if you're that person who thinks it needs to be perfect, you're missing the boat. Okay? Don't worry about this. You're going to be fine. But you're going to make the world feel real when the reader feels like they're next to the characters doing whatever it is they're doing. Fantastic question. Why is it so bad to quote song lyrics and poetry in my manuscript? Good God. I understand it's the first day with the camera, but maybe do we have to like rant about everything? Okay, look. Should I go full screen for this? Like, would that have more impact? I can do that. I can press this button. Look, we can go right here. Here's why it's a problem for you to quote song lyrics and poetry. Because it makes you look like a child. It makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. It makes it look like you have no ability to have your own thoughts. So you are grabbing the thoughts of others to express yourself. Which is fine when you're a child. But you're a grown-ass person. You're a grown-ass person. You have your own vocabulary. You have your own way of expressing yourself. You've been doing it since birth. Use your own words. If you're not sure what those words are, good news, you're making art. It is the literal thing you can do to figure out how you feel. I'm not talking about copyright. I'm not talking about like fuck that. I'm not talking about lawsuits. I'm not talking about any of that shit. I don't want you doing this because it makes you look like you're new at this. And there's nothing wrong with being new at the thing. The problem is appearing like you're always new at a thing. I want you to act like you've been there before. I want you to do better. I want you to be able to express yourself. And I understand that the song lyric or the poem might absolutely positively be the best thing that totally speaks to you because you, the human, had a response to it. I get that. But at the same time, you have to talk to the reader. The reader isn't you. You have to speak to them. Remember how you went to the song lyrics and you were like, oh shit, this song speaks to me. Guess what? The reader's looking at your book going, oh shit, I hope this book speaks to me. You have a responsibility to express yourself so that someone else can be moved. That's why you don't grab for these things. They're the easy crutch. It's great when we're starting out. They're great in first drafts. But at some point, you got to do your own thing. Okay? Hang on. Am I talking about a quote at the start of the book or in the MS itself or both? I'm talking specifically about the quotes like randomly in the middle of exposition. If you want to start a quote at the top of your paragraph, the top of your chapter 2 header before you dive into your paragraph, that's fine. But I'm talking about how I'm just going to cop the Rolling Stones lyrics smack into my chapter. Don't do that. But if you want to chapter 2 heading is, Duran Duran lyrics, go ahead. But in the middle of your text, your stuff. Why are you grabbing on somebody else's stuff? It's your work. Put your work in it. Great question. God, that was a good rant. That made me very happy. All right, question 6. Oh my God. It's gentle advice. Now, I have to tell you this. Originally, the person who wrote me this question said I should do a voice. And I couldn't think of one. Like, I couldn't figure out how to make it sound silly. So I'm going to answer it straight. My beta readers are trashing my book. What do I do? Okay. Here's what you do. Let them. Let them. Anything they point out. Anything they point out. From punctuation to character development to this is a terrible chapter to this whole act sucks to this book makes no sense. Anything they point out is something you can fix. Should you fix it? If everybody's telling you there's a problem, probably. But by and large, anything they point out is something you can fix. Now, if you don't agree with all your beta readers, and you are absolutely positively convinced that you're right and they're the ones that are wrong, you could go find new beta readers. The problem is you're going to come across like you're just looking for people to tell you how great everything is and not point out the problems, or that you're uncomfortable accepting criticism. But by and large, let them. Let them. You ask for their opinions. They're beta readers. They're the readers that come before other readers. And it's better to get this shit out of the way with the betas. The people who aren't, leaving reviews that affect algorithms. But you can at least do something at this stage. Let them trash your book. Thank them. It's uncomfortable. It's embarrassing. It's frustrating. Now, it's also possible that maybe they're shitty beta readers. Maybe you pick people who are just not good at giving feedback. And that's something to be thought about as well. But even if they're bad at giving feedback, let them give bad feedback. Because then you can discard part of it or, just say, well, all that shit goes out the window because I'm going to rewrite this anyway or whatever. Just let them trash your book. Thank them for it. Do whatever you can do to help them succeed. Do whatever you can do to help get everything across. Don't panic. Resist the urge to think you're a total failure, because you're not. It has nothing to do with you. It's just some people's opinion about this one thing. You know how you have opinions about that restaurant or this store or that human or this thing? You know how you have opinions? They have opinions too. It's okay. Really and truly, it's okay. And it's going to be fine. Because no matter what they trash, no matter how bad they trash it, you can fix it. You might need to get some help. It might take some time. But anything they want to poke a stick at is something you can fix. Don't panic. Just do the best you can with the feedback you're getting and reassess when everything's said and done. Don't tinker in the middle if you're still waiting on feedback. Let them deliver all the feedback and then get back into it. Okay? You're going to be fine. You can do this. Really, you can do this. Are there any more questions from chat? I'm not entirely sure that we're done with the rants or spicy questions for the night. So that might be coming. But by and large, any questions? Zoom? I'm afraid to talk to you, Zoom, because every time I've called you out the last couple times, you've crashed. So far, so good. Twitch, we good? Questions, problems, issues, concerns? All right. Oh, no. Did it crash again? Oh, no. No, we're back. We're good. Okay. Whew. All right. Here we go. Question 7. Do I need to hire a book marketing service for my book? And what are some things I can do about book marketing that I can do as an author? Okay. 1. Do I need to hire a book marketing service? No. You don't have to. You can. They can sometimes be helpful, but you don't need to. They are not required the same way that like a cover artist is. They're optional. What a book marketer does is help sell a particular book. You can make arrangements so that they work with several books or work with you on all your books. Every service is different to some degree, but a lot of services are just, hey, this one book, that's what we're going to work on. And what they're going to do is help give you a strategy. Now, whether that's a step-by-step guide or whether that's, hey, use these exact tweets, or whether that's, give us all the details and access and we'll schedule those things and set them up for you. They're going to take over trying to improve the sales and visibility of the one thing, whether that's every book or just this one book or whatever their arrangement is. That can be really helpful, but it does not mean that you have to, it doesn't absolve you from the responsibility of building a community. It doesn't absolve you from the ability to grow and develop as a writer. You still have to do the business of developing a following and growing your newsletter and reaching out on social media. You're still going to have to do that to some degree. And the book marketing stuff can particularly make those ads and make those things that are going to sell the books. But since we don't want to just be, sales robot 9000, we want to just do more than have sales tweets, right? We want to do more than just have sales posts on Instagram. We want to make sure there's a combination of, hey, here's some sales, here's some merch, here's some stuff you can get hooked up with. But also on the other end of this arrangement in social media, there's a human being. There's me, the author. Both me, the person, and me, the author, possibly, depending on how you want to set it up. But by and large, the book marketing service is just there to market a book and get out of the way the other times. What are some things you can do to market your book as an author? Well, you're going to do the same things the book marketing service does. Now, the book marketing service might use software that they've paid for. They might use some apps. They might use a website or two that you could fundamentally do yourself. You can Google these things. It's not exactly a mystery. It just means that other people have done it too. But you can do all these same tweets. You can grow your audience. You can write the ads. You can do all that stuff. The marketing service just takes that from you to free up more of your time and space. For some people, it's fantastic. But if you're brand new at this and this is your debut book, maybe it would help you to get somebody else to handle the algorithm or handle how to tweet it or handle how to sell it. But at the same time, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe you know your book best and you know exactly who you want to reach and how you want to reach them. And that's fine. But what are some stuff you can do as an author? Be a person on social media who just coincidentally happens to be a writer. Hey, I'm me. Hi. And did you know I write stuff? Did you know I do this? Do you know I do that? Here, check it out. That kind of content, that kind of level of discourse can be infinitely more attractive, appealing, and useful than all of a sudden dropping consistent ad, text, photo, real staged, stiff, impersonal stuff. So the best thing you can do as an author, be a person on social media. And when you do the ads, when you do the selling of the book, do it in a way that doesn't totally deviate from your normal voice. So if you come across and you're very much like me and you're just kind of hanging out, having a good time, wearing a hoodie, talking about whatever, going through your day, you want to make sure your ads, whenever it is you do ads to sell whatever it is you want to sell, more or less sound like, hey, I'm the guy in the hoodie just saying whatever. If I were to all of a sudden sound like this, but then if I was going to start telling you about the wonders of this product, it would be a little weird. You might initially even think that I'm fucking around. Maybe I am. But if I'm trying to tell you about the wonders of Wonder Thing 2000, and I'm serious, you guys, like, I want to make sure you have that sense that, oh, this is a thing he's doing. So you want to make sure, no matter whether you're writing tweets or Instagram ads or Facebook ads or just posts or blog posts or newsletters or whatever, you want to make sure before anything else, even before you get to the figuring out that your 6th line on the page should be your sales link, before you get anything crunchy like that, you want to make sure you sound like you. And if you don't know what it is you sound like, practice. Figure it out. Be you for a little while longer before you launch into the sales. So, some things you can do. Tweet, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, WhatsApp. Be you. Be you in all the places and spaces doing whatever it is you do. And then when it comes time to transition into, hey, I'm selling a thing, here it is, here's the link, here's the cover, use that familiarity you have with the people to go tell them, hey, go check this thing out. Now, if you're asking, well, how do I grow if I've done that? Well, you're you. People share what you're saying because you're just being you. You're not only, your sales ads are not the only way you're going to grow your community or grow your following or grow your numbers or grow your this. It's a combination of what you're selling and who you are and how you present. All those things come together so that you can be you and have the sales and do the thing. You grow because you're you. It just so happens that you sell. So use social media, play the games, do whatever it is you do, have a good time. That's going to be far more attractive than your ability to read sales copy in a particularly charming voice. But you're going to be able to do all the same things a book service does. You might have to use different stuff. You might have to use the freebie stuff while they're using the paid stuff. But they're going to do the same process. They're tweeting, they're making ads, they're doing this, they're doing that. You have a leg up on them, though, because you're a person and they're a service. Just think about that. I hope that answers your question. It's a good question. If you want more detail, ask a follow-up, and I will certainly do my best. Question 8. Man, we're going technical again. What's the difference between descriptive telling, emotional telling, and activity telling? And is it all bad? Okay. Buckle in. This one gets a little dense. You know how we talk about show versus tell? And we keep swearing up and down that you want to do more show and less tell. And how sometimes we want to do both, and how they work together and bounce off each other. Well, there's different flavors of each. There's different flavors and kinds of showing to do. There's different flavors and kinds of telling to do. And sometimes some kinds of telling are the best tool for the job to get the picture in the reader's head and get the idea across to them. There are 3 kinds of telling. There's also 3 kinds of showing. Descriptive showing, emotional showing, and activity showing. Interesting how that works. Descriptive telling is you stating a thing via its description. The black chair in the corner has 2 cats on it. Well, now it has 1 cat on it. I'm not sure where the other cat ran to. Probably downstairs for some water. But yes, there you go. Descriptive telling is telling via describing a thing. That thing is usually a noun. That thing is usually an object. That thing is usually something you want the reader to picture in their brain. Yes, it can be like a non-visual thing, but you're still giving a description so that the reader pictures something in their head. Emotional telling. John feels tired. I'm telling you, or the writer is telling you how the character feels. You are telling the emotion the character is having. When you state that, when you get that across flat out, you are eliminating the option for the reader to plug in their own choices. Because if John is tired, John might also be like 20 other things, but we're not talking about those 20 other things. We're focusing you, the reader, on the fact that John is tired. We are using emotional telling. Why would we use emotional telling? Well, because we want to focus you on a particular direction. If we're trying to set up a moment or a scene or something where we need to have a certain feeling going into it, you need to understand that your character is, pissed off when they go get into the big fight. You use emotional telling to dictate that so you don't think like, I wonder what the hell the character's thinking. No, you've told them flat out, and that's fine. It's okay to tell sometimes. Third kind, activity telling. Well, if we just describe nouns and we just describe feelings, now we got to describe actions. He ran across the gymnasium. Activity telling. I'm telling you the activity that happened. She threw the water in his face. Activity. Why? Because I'm giving you something to picture in your head. But that's different than me saying the water flew from the glass and reached his face. First of all, that's really passive and awkward. But at the same time, it's different. I'm not describing the glass. I'm describing the activity with the glass. And if he was shocked because the water hit him in the face, I can use emotional telling to partner that together. Descriptive, emotional, and activity telling or showing. Descriptive showing describes the object. Emotional showing deepens the feelings because we spend more sentences on it. Activity showing describes the activity as it is in progress. They're all different ways of using show or tell, not show and tell, show or tell, to help the reader get a movie in their brain. So is it all bad? No. It just is. If you do it poorly, if you're unclear or stiff, or you just keep doing, only descriptive and emotional telling, or emotional and only activity telling, he did this, he felt that, she did this, she said that, and it feels very stiff and robotic and machined, yeah, the reader's going to lose interest because it's going to be boring. But by and large, the story structure stuff, the descriptive telling, the emotional telling, the activity telling, is not by definition automatically bad. It's just another tool in the toolbox. Make sense? No? Yes? You're going to use all of these things to different degrees at different times at different spaces. Some stories in some parts are going to be more of one than the other, and that's fine. Again, you've got a whole big toolbox full of tools. Some stuff's going to show up more often than others. Some stuff you're going to use a lot, and that's okay. Some stuff you're going to use barely at all. Fine. Totally okay. It's the fact that it's in the toolbox that matters way more than the fact that you've not used this tool in 20 pages. No one gives a shit. It doesn't matter. It just matters that it's available to you if you think it's the best tool for the job at the time. Wonderful, technical, crunchy question. Question 9. Is there any benefit to lowering my book's price? Can you see the face I'm making? Here. Take a good look at this face. Yes, there is a benefit to lowering your book's price. Your book is cheaper. It allows people to access it and exchange slightly less currency or material for your product. It may incentivize people who were on the fence about buying it to buy it now that it costs less. I'm not sure what else you want me to say. Price is seldom an indicator of book quality, because sometimes price changing is out of your hands. If you use a giant river megacorporation to produce your material, they can change your price on you all they want. It's in that whole big long list of rules and stuff that you signed up for. So they can change your price. And they don't always have to tell you they've done it. So it doesn't automatically mean, oh, it's 99 cents. It's hot garbage. No, it might just be 99 cents today. Don't equate book price with book quality. Certainly not for your own stuff. The hashtag writing community will love to tell you that you can immediately correlate price and quality. Because again, the hashtag writing community doesn't really want you writing. They want to create a hierarchy with a pecking order so that people can feel better than each other and compete with each other, which is antithetical to the idea of community. But the benefit, it makes it easier for people to buy it. If that's important at a moment for you, great. Otherwise, it's a sale. What else do you want me to say? Any more questions from chat? Zoom? I see you. Twitch? We good? I'm looking left and right. I don't see. It doesn't seem like I missed anything. So I think we will march on. I'm going to get another mouthful of tea. Or this is the water glass, which is fine. It's hibiscus tea tonight. We're giving it a shot. It's not bad. It's really, really floral. It's not bad, though. Questions? Anybody? We good? Else we will march forward and bring it home around the home stretch. Question 10. How do I ask a cover artist or an editor if they have a payment plan available? That's a good question. Hi, cover artist or editor. Do you have a payment plan available? Is a version of this question. It's a little awkward. People can feel very intimidated about it. So let's come up with a version that's maybe not so direct and maybe not so uncomfortable. Hi, cover artist or editor. I was wondering if it was possible for there to be some way of structuring payment all at once, or how is it I can pay you? Do you want it all up front? Do we split it? I don't know how to make what works for you, and how do we make this happen? That way, you've got something proactive. You've got something that takes the explanation out of the way. You don't have to sit there and wring your hands and go, hey, you got to understand that I have this condition and this problem, and there's this situation, and there's this thing, and here's another condition you should know about with this story, and here's another condition with the money, and here's 25 reasons that I'm really embarrassed about. Rather than put that on you and talk about it in terms of the conditions and hoops and red flags and the thises and the that's, rather than make it about that, rather than bring that up, frame it as, how can we make it work? Ask. How do we make this work? Do I pay you all up front? Do we split this? Pretend to be stupid if you need to. It's okay. Pretend like you don't know. Totally fine. Now, sometimes cover artists or editors will make it clear they have payment plans. They'll say so on their websites. They'll say so in tweets or social media. They'll say so in business cards or whatever. They'll make it clear. If they don't, just ask. You don't need to preface this question with a lengthy preamble or backstory. You can just ask. If they say no, well, you get to decide as whether or not that, means you go with this artist or editor. I don't know many artists or editors who have no opportunity or no ability for payment plans. It used to be a rarity to have somebody say, like, oh, we can split this up into parts. That's no problem. It used to be sort of like the outlier, like, oh, my God, you have payment plans? But now, given the state of everything, it's pretty common. And it's not your fault. Like, you didn't do anything wrong that you need one. You're not a failure. You're not a bad human. You just need one. You know, oh, my feet are cold. I need socks. Oh, I don't have all the money up front. Things are tight. I need a payment plan. I know it can feel embarrassing because we are shamed and taught to be afraid of and embarrassed by money because capitalism. But all the same, you just ask. Because remember, your cover artist and your editor, they need work. That's their job. They want to work. Not just because they have bills and therefore need the money, but a lot of us like to do this because we like to do this. So just ask. It's going to be okay. Just ask. Good question. Question 11. What's the difference between an opening hook scene and an opening statement scene? All right. This is one of those things that's sort of tricky to explain. So thank God there's a camera, because if I need to go full screen and gesture, I want to make sure you understand. We have to start by defining hook versus statement, because that's the sort of critical stuff you need to know. A hook is an idea that is introduced in part that will in some way, shape, or form be developed elsewhere over the course of the story. A little bit here, and a little bit there, and a little bit here, and a little bit more there, and a little bit more there. Piece by piece by piece, like a jigsaw puzzle. It's not always going to be explained in the same way. It's not always going to be explained at the same time or the same pattern, but it will be explained from over the course of the whole story. It's a hook because there's just enough for you to grab onto, just enough to get started with, and you got to keep reading to get more breadcrumbs. You got to keep reading to get more pieces. It hooks you, it holds your interest, and you move forward. The fact that it's an opening hook just means that the hook comes at the opening. You can have closing hooks, you can have, middle chapter act hooks. The opening part of this question, somewhat immaterial. The hook is an opening that engages to a degree that you're going to expand upon. It usually includes not giving all the details, creating a sense of mystery, creating a sense of unknown, creating a sense of, I'd like more information, please. Taken to an extreme, this is how you get like the rugged bad boy with stubble and abs. Like taken to that melodramatic soap opera telenovela kind of vibe, it's the extreme, I am a gritty loner. It like that's the absurdity of it. We're not going that far for this description, but it's the idea of we've given you a little bit so that you're curious and you have to stick around to get more. That's different than an opening statement. An opening statement, or just a statement scene, is where you very clearly put forward the thing you're talking about. It's not a hook. It is just one person. I'm still trying to figure out where to position this microphone relative to my face. It is not a hook in that we're going to give you piece by piece by piece. We're just going to flat out say it. Statement scenes are really great for making very defining, clear, concrete elements of your story or character arc just legit. You're just immediately stamping it into the concrete. Superman, especially in the Superman and Lois new show that's now in its second season on the CW, starts with a statement scene because it's Superman being Superman. This is just what Superman. We're not piecing together a little bit. It's just fucking Superman doing Superman shit. Boom. Wrestling promos operate the same way. They're statements because they're designed in that moment to elicit a complete emotion. We want you to cheer the good guy and boo the bad guy. Or we want you to feel this way when you see this, or feel this way when you hear this theme music, or feel this when this happens, or feel that when that happens. Statements are very declarative, very definitive, and while there might be further variations on this theme, it's not like we only have questions and we're waiting for answers. It's just flat out said. Truth, justice, and a better world. Statement. I work alone. Hook. It's interesting, and it is arguably a declarative statement. literally having a character say, I work alone. But we can turn it into a hook. I work alone and you know why. And it's sort of open-ended and we brood our way over to the left and put things together. Make sense? The primary difference is how much information you give the reader and what it is you're trying to get from it. With an opening hook, you are saying, here's a breadcrumb, follow it for more, and you'll be rewarded at the end. With a statement, you're saying, here is a thing I want you to understand. Understand it, because this is going to come back at least one more time in the book. Usually statements show up 2+ times. So understand this and define your character understanding. Define your relationship to the character, to the world, to the whatever the statement is, to it, because I need you on board with this without any, guesswork. That's the difference. Make sense? Cool. Last question. Gentle advice. I'm still having trouble writing this year, just like I had trouble last year. What can I do? Well, yeah, I get it. This year, 19 days in, does not seem all that dissimilar from last year. I know. I get it. I can move the furniture in the office. I can move the cats around. I can relight things. I can plug a camera in. And that might make a sort of a difference. But by and large, the world is still the world. Stuff's still going on. Stress is still happening. Issues are still happening. All that. I get it. It's not easy to say, and certainly not easy to believe, that it won't be like this forever. One of the hard things to understand when it comes to going through trauma, going through difficult times, going through hard times, daddy, going through whatever, is that it feels like it's going to happen forever because you're in the thick of it at the time you're questioning it. And it can be really difficult and really scary to wonder what the future is going to be if the present feels like this. I need you to look. I need you to hear me, okay? It's okay that you're not writing 1 billion trillion words. And it's okay that it's hard. And it's okay that you're struggling. I mean, it's unfortunate that you're struggling. It's sad, and I'm sorry. But it's okay because you're not alone. You're not the only one struggling. You might be the only you in existence. You might be the only you going through the things you are going through. And you might feel very alone. But that doesn't make you a bad person. You might feel and you might have an experience where the world seems broken, right? You might feel like this is just really shitty and everybody else seems to be doing way better. I understand. I do. But you're not broken. And it's okay that you're not writing 1 million billion words, and it's okay that you're not done, and it's okay that you haven't started, and it's okay that you took time off, and it's okay that you've struggled. It's okay. I'm not saying this is not a rah-rah, like, okay, it's time to stop struggling. You struggle with whatever you need to for as long as you need to. It's okay. The best thing you can do right now, instead of trying to force yourself to meet some demand, instead of trying to force yourself to be what you think or be how you think everybody else is and try to meet somebody else's bullshit criteria, the best thing you can do every day, if you can't sit down and write or art or create or do whatever it is you do, if that's not going to happen some days, tomorrow, today, tonight, whatever, the best thing you can do is make sure that you've taken care of yourself. Meds, water, food, clothing, shelter, the basics. Anything past that, pleasure, satisfaction, peace, joy, Have you met those needs too? They're important. I know they seem like frivolous, impossible luxuries sometimes, especially when the world gets real bad. But you're still allowed to have moments where you feel good. You're still allowed to be okay. You're still allowed to laugh at some jokes, even if you didn't write today. It's okay. It's going to be all right because you're not alone. The bravest thing you can do, the hardest thing in the world to do, is ask for help if you need help. And it's okay if you need to get help. And it's okay if your help comes in the form of other people helping you. It's okay if help comes in the form of professional services. It's okay if help comes in the form of, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to take 3 days off. It's okay. Really, truly, it's okay. You're not breaking some rule. You're not ruining everything. You can't make the art you make. Whatever the art is, you can't make that art if you're not in a good position to take care of yourself. If you're struggling, if you're suffering, if you're hurting, yeah, obviously the art's not going to happen. It shouldn't. Don't force it. Forcing your way to make your art when you don't feel like your head's on straight does not lead to higher, better quality art. Sometimes when you're going through shit, you can't force your way through, which can be frustrating if you're the sort of person who frequently pushes their way through anything. But you're not alone. What can you do when you've got 19 days and they're just as hard as the last 365? You do your best. I know it's not perfect. I know you wish it was different. I certainly wish it was different. I still got a busted ass couch. I hear you. I still struggle some days to eat. I still struggle some days to keep the lights on. I can't afford the Cat 5 cable in the lengths I need to connect my internet some days. I get it. I know that sounds like stupid privilege shit, but this is my lifeblood. You get it? Like, I'm in this with you. You make art, I make art. I talk about art, you talk about art. We all have a good time. We do our best to get through every day. Some days are hard, some days are easier, some days are less hard. We do the best we can. The thing I need you to do, the thing I really, truly need you to do, no matter what, no matter if it's been 19 days, 100 days, 190 days, 1,900 days, whatever, since you wrote last, since you created last, the thing I need you to do, I need you to take 10 seconds. 10 seconds. If we can go for more than 10, that's great. But I'm just asking for 10 seconds. 10 seconds. I need you to be nice to yourself for 10 seconds right now. I'll count. Okay? 1, 2, be nice to yourself. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nice to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. We're being nice for 10 seconds. You got 2 more seconds left. You're doing great. 9, 10. All right, now you can go back to being shitty to yourself all you want. You gave me 10 seconds. I'm a happy man. When you slog through everything and it all feels bad and it all feels hard, the best thing you can do is try to find 10 seconds. And it can be silly and it can be stupid. And you can think it's a totally dumb thing that you're not going to understand how you get back to your art this way. But give yourself 10 seconds. It's awkward. I know. I know. But you're good enough to have 10 seconds where you don't beat yourself up. You're good enough to have 10 seconds where you feel like, things are worth it again. It's all right. It's going to be okay. If your creative well is empty, it's okay to take time to refill it. You cannot drink from an empty glass. I'm pointing at my Twitch chat for their brilliance. Sometimes you got to refill the tank. Sometimes you got to take a break. Sometimes you got to get off your own goddamn back. Your art never needs to be perfect. You know that, right? Right? Your art never needs to be perfect. It's not going to sell suddenly better. It's not going to magically like, oh my God, it's perfect. Here's $1 billion. Nope. That's not how that works. You're the only one who can make the art you make. And just because you didn't make it faster doesn't mean anything. It just means it took you longer. Please don't beat yourself up. It's been hard lately. It's probably going to be hard a little while longer. I don't know how long. I wish I could tell you. If I could give you a deadline and go, I have consulted things and apparently we only have, X number of days. Believe me, I'd be counting that shit down. But I can't. So the best thing I can do is ask you to take care of yourself. And when you get a chance and when there's a moment and you've refilled your tank, do your best to produce something. And anybody, I don't care if they're your favorite follow on Twitter or they're the people in your Facebook group or they're the people in your group chat or you're married to them or related to them or you take your pants off with them or whatever. Anybody who gets all up on your back about, hey, how come you haven't done this? What's the matter? Anybody who gives you that impression that, you're on their clock and the world is failing and it's your fault because you're not making art. I need you to look them dead in the face. Tell them to go fuck themselves. And if they act shocked, you tell them, I said it was okay to do that because you need 10 seconds. The best thing you can do right now is take care of yourself. The second best thing you can do after you take care of yourself or in addition to taking care of yourself is do the best you can with the energy you have to produce some kind of art, something, somewhere, to some size, even if it's one word. Okay? You're not alone. You're not a failure. You didn't fuck it all up. The world's on fire. We're doing our best. Be nice to you. You're the only you got. And everybody else will figure their own shit out. Eventually. Somehow. But all you can control is you. So, what can you do? Take care of yourself. Make art the best you can when you can. That's what you can do. And that, if there are no other questions, is everything. Are there any other questions? We got kind of heavy there at an ending. Questions, issues, etc. Zoom, thank you for not crashing. Twitch, you wobbled a couple times there. Apologies. But you got your shit together, and I'm proud of you. Questions, issues, comments, etc. Really, I'm actually really thrilled that the Zoom recording is going to be like one continuous audio I don't have to try and like account for. Awesome. Makes it so much easier for me. All right, shall we go to the outro? I feel very outro. Let's outro. Well, we made it to another one, didn't we? That was, holy shit, that was something. So, yeah, it was a fine night. It was a good night together. Thank you for being here. Thanks, everybody in chat, for showing up. Thank you for your awesome questions. Thank you for whoever sent me nice, supportive text messages while I was talking. I'm just seeing them now. I'll make sure I read them when I'm done. Thanks for bearing with me on camera. I think it went pretty well. I actually don't feel very panicky, so I'm quite pleased about that. It just worked out nice. I'm real proud of myself. So it was good to be here. The next time, the next time I'm in your ears. Let's see. Where's my calendar? The next time I'm in your ears will be Monday the 24th, where we are going to talk about something interesting. I don't know what else to call it. It's got a cool graphic, I'll tell you that. And then I'll be right back here for the next Writer's Chat at the end of January on January the 26th. 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for being here. All power to all people. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Tell people you love them. Take your meds. Drink some water. Wash your hands. Be safe. Be smart. Make good choices. Create art to the best of your ability. Know that you're not alone. I love you. You look great today. You look fucking amazing. Have you done something nice with your hair? You look boss. Good for you. I hope things go well. I hope you have a good week. And I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. See ya!